talking NFL Saturday night, favorite DFS and sportsbook plays for Christmas NFL games. And it's a Christmas miracle. We got a Millie Maker on Saturday, $25 to enter, 2-game classic with the Browns, Packers, Colts, Cardinals game. So who are you paying up for in this 2-game classic slate, Reid?
It's got to be Jonathan Taylor, right? $8,300, 23 carries inside the 5-yard line. The next closest person, guys, is Jalen Hurts at 14 and James Conner at that same number. This guy, outside of what he does inside the 20s or outside the 20s, it is amazing. But inside where those scoring numbers and where those value touches are so important, he is a guy that far and away exceeds every other player on this slate. And he's just top 5 in yards after contact. I don't think there's enough to be said about Jonathan Taylor. If you're not going, you've got to go a little contrarian. I also like Zach Ertz. He's the most expensive tight end, but he's someone who's seen 18 targets in the last 2 games.
All right, Geoff, who are you paying up for?
Yeah, paying up for, I'm going to go with Kyler Murray here. And like maybe the passing efficiency hasn't been great, but I really feel like for the Arizona Cardinals to keep this game close, Kyler Murray is going to have to run the ball. And you kind of look at it like the last few games that Kyler Murray has been back. Obviously, no DeAndre Hopkins. What has he had to do? He's gone over 50 yards rushing. Like his 2 season best rushing yards totals games have come in 2 of those last 3 games. Now, the Detroit game we can write off a little bit because that was just weird. It felt like they kind of gave up after halftime. But the games before that, you saw he doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins to work with. He's taking off a little bit more. And I think he's going to have to do that a lot against the Colts. I expect the Cardinals to be down in this game. I don't think they're going to win, but I do think Kyler Murray is going to put up some stats. And I think you absolutely will need him in your DFS lineups for this 2-game slate.
All right, Matt, who are you paying up for?
So in terms of lineup construction, I do think it'll be pretty easy to kind of just pay up everywhere, which means that all of the expensive players are going to be pretty popular. So I do think you kind of just have to pick and choose here and go with 1 or maybe 2 of them, because otherwise you're kind of just making the same lineup everyone else is. To me, Jonathan Taylor is the guy who should be the priority over everyone else. If Murray is the most popular quarterback and Adams is the most popular receiver, I think Taylor is the most deserving of being the guy who everyone plays at running back. I just think like his floor is so much higher than everybody else. His ceiling is so much higher than everybody else. I'm not sure if the game script sets up perfectly, but I almost don't think it matters. Like he's so involved no matter what's going on in the game. I think there are more ways for Devontae Adams or Kyler Murray to fail than there are for Taylor. So Taylor's the guy I'm paying up for. I think you can pay up for others too, but he's the priority. I think he's just the best overall fantasy play right now.
All right, Geoff, who's the best value play for the 2-game classic slate?
Yeah, I mean, Matt kind of alluded to this, but like there's just value kind of everywhere. Like I don't think you're going to have problems identifying like cheap players to go to here. I mean, I think Zach Ertz is kind of a must in this spot just for the simple fact that I know he's the most expensive tight end, but he's also under 5K. And I think he's a must just for the fact that Arizona is I think has a very good shot of being behind in this game. And the Colts are a very big funnel to the pass defense, specifically through the middle, where they just don't cover tight ends. They've allowed bottom 3 in terms of receptions allowed to the tight end position. So when you're looking at tight end, there's some really cheap guys like Degura from Green Bay, Jack Doyle, even on the other side. But I think you absolutely just need to pay down for Zach Ertz. And again, at under 5K, like you could go double tight end if you really want to, but he to me is like the best pure value on the board. I think if you want to go really cheap, you can go with like the Green Bay receiver, like an Allen Lazard as well to get a little bit contrarian, but every other value play on the board just to me reeks of kind of like very, very boomer bust. Whereas Ertz at under 5K is like a very, very pure value that I think has a great floor here.
All right, Matt, best value play.
So I think the most underpriced player is actually Jonathan Taylor. He's 8,300 and I think he deserves to be well over 9K, but to give an actual value play, I think, like Geoff said, Michael Pittman and Allen Lazard specifically, who we mentioned, those guys, like they're not expensive enough to, and I think there are a bunch of Cardinals guys because DeAndre Hopkins is out that like these guys are all underpriced. So I'll go a little off the board and give one that I think will be pretty contrarian, and that's Antoine Wesley, who most people may not have heard of on the Cardinals. Rondale Moore actually got hurt during last week's game against the Lions. My guess is he'll play, but he didn't play much wide receiver. He may not have even gotten a single wide receiver snap in the second half. Wesley was the guy playing the slot with AJ Green and Christian Kirk out there. So if that trend continues, he's only a $3,000 receiver. And if it is true that the Cardinals are behind in this game and need to pass more, you'll see more of these 3 receiver sets. So I think there are a ton of value plays that are worth looking at, but Wesley could be one who's way down there at 3K that people just kind of overlook.
All right, Reid, hit me with some value.
Yeah, I mean, Geoff does his Geoff thing where he mentions every single player on the slate. So the element of surprise is sort of out there. But yeah, Alan Lazard, and Matt did it as well. Alan Lazard is one of those guys, right, because of the injuries. But I'm surprised that Geoff didn't mention his boy, Chase Edmonds. Like, he mentions Chase Edmonds on every single show when it's a main slate. And this time he just didn't, right? And I get it, right? He's coming back from injuries, kind of getting worked into it. Kyler Murray is doing a little bit more. The one thing that scares me, though, about Chase Edmonds, even though he's underpriced, in my opinion, is that the Colts don't bring a lot of pressure. They don't bring a lot of pressure. They don't bring a lot of blitzes either. So I do think that opens up the lanes for a guy like Zach Ertz. And Kyler's not necessarily going to have to run that much, right? And they don't play a lot of man. So I do think this is going to be a passing attack from Arizona. But if I'm going to do that, and there's a guy that's under 5K that I really like, it's Chase Edmonds.
All right, moving over to the sports book. Do you see Green Bay covering the 7.5 points with the Browns on a short week, Matt?
I don't really think so, but there's also a lot of uncertainty with the Browns. Like, they just had this game only a couple of days ago where they were missing half their team basically for COVID protocols. And maybe these guys can correct me here. I don't think it's totally clear who's back for Cleveland. If Cleveland's fully healthy and they get everyone back for this game, I actually think this line is way too high. So it's just kind of worth waiting to see what happens here, who's going to be active for the Browns, if Baker Mayfield's there and he has his whole supporting cast, all the normal guys that he normally has. But if the Browns are fully healthy and the Packers are fully healthy, I think that this line should be less than a touchdown. It's just hard to really say right now because we have so much ambiguity with who's going to be on the field.
Reid, what do we think?
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm in the same camp as Matt with the uncertainty on the Cleveland side. But if we take that out and looking at just what Green Bay has done over the year, you would think, yeah, against just essentially a decimated team in Cleveland by COVID and injuries of the sort, you just think that, man, this is a team where Green Bay is absolutely rolling. Coach of the year, probably Matt LaFleur, MVP back-to-back candidate, and Aaron Rodgers going against a Cleveland team. Having said that, I much rather want the Packers in a teaser leg, get them down to 1.5 because it's up to 7.5 now, or over it lands just to win. Because we saw last week with the Packers that when they get up by a lot, they play that prevent defense and they allow a team like a backup quarterback, in the Ravens to come and essentially almost win that game in the 2-point conversion. This is a different team. This is a different week. Having said that, I don't really trust the Packers at this point to do it. And if they get up by a lot, they're probably just going to run the ball a ton, and Cleveland's going to triple team Devontae Adams. So I'm a little bit worried about covering 7.5.
Jeff, are you worried about covering 7.5?
Yeah, I think things are trending like well enough for Cleveland that I'm actually pretty interested in Cleveland at plus 7.5 here. The Packers, obviously, Marquez Valdes-Scantling now on COVID protocol as well. I don't think it's like a huge concern or anything. And I still think the Packers are the better team here, but I'm expecting a close game. This is pretty much the season for Cleveland. The one thing that has me just a little bit trepidatious is that even a word, trepid? I don't know. Is that Myles Garrett is banged up, right? Yeah. So if we had like positive news on Myles Garrett before, and I think it's actually almost worth waiting on Garrett before you make a bet here. I would actually be really in on Cleveland at plus 7. I think it's a good team. And I just feel like, they're getting underrated here because of what has been happening through their team. But as we've seen with these COVID things too, like once it goes through the team, it's gone. And then the team kind of gets back to full strength, and it's almost like a buy low opportunity. So I think you're definitely buying low on Cleveland here at plus 7.5. If this got under a touchdown, I probably wouldn't be as interested, but at over 7 points, man, that's a very vital number. Once we get over 7, I think Cleveland at plus 7.5 is probably going to end up being a bet. You just want to keep an eye on what's going on with Myles Garrett.
All right, guys, real quick, under 2 minutes, just a 1-point spread for the Colts Cardinals. Who do you like in the Indy Arizona game, Reid?
You got to go with the Colts. Even though you're buying them at a high and you're buying essentially Arizona on a low, I think the Colts are just the better team right now, and they can attack the deficiencies against Arizona and their run D. So give me the Colts.
Jeff.
Colts, I mean, it's probably going to be chalky, but like money line plus 100. I just don't know how Arizona is going to stop Jonathan Taylor. They don't have a good rush defense. Their offense has been super inefficient. Kyler is regressing, and it's probably because no DeAndre Hopkins as well. So I think Arizona could keep this close, but I really like the Colts on the money line.
Matt.
Yeah, as someone who picked the Colts to beat the Titans has been saying the Titans aren't as good all year. I'm still mad at Carson Wentz for giving away that game in overtime the last time they faced each other. But the Colts are the better team. I'm not sure if I want to pick them here with this line. It's already come down close to pick them. My gut feeling is actually Arizona wins, even though the Colts are better. So I kind of think home field advantage wins out here and Arizona takes it.